Thank you everybody for joining in. None of you are new, probably except Rishi. So you know how this goes. It's an hour that we discuss a book, but mostly Aswini will share something and then we'll break and then we'll talk, we'll discuss. And then it's a lot more lively discussion rather than just a monologue. I have not read this book, but I'm going to say what Aswini has in her WhatsApp status, which I think about it a lot. Happiness, I created it for myself. And I've known Aswini for, I think now 15, 20 years. And I can say that she's epitome of that particular phrase. I've known her, I've seen her career graph, I've seen her life, how she has lived, how she lives, how she raises her kids, and so on and so forth. And I can certainly say that that particular phrase, happiness I created for myself, is absolutely true in terms of Aswini's life. So I'm a lot more interested in that, what she has to say about this particular topic about attitude is everything. So I'm extremely interested in that. Thank you everybody for joining in. Sukhwinder Ji, Xavier, Rishi, Captain Arparaj, KK, and Padma, thank you for joining in. Hopefully, like any other session, this is also a very lively session. Thank you very much. Over to you, Aswini.
Thank you, Joseph. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thank you again, Joseph, for this opportunity to share my thoughts on a book. So Attitude is Everything. This is a book by Jeff Keller. It's been around for a very long time. I just got to read it. Like I learned about this book last year, and I think Joseph, I picked it up from one of your articles about this book, and that's what sort of inspired me to read this book. And I think last year when I was in a bookshop buying books for my son, I saw this, so I just picked it up, and it was in my to-do, reading list for quite some time. But then I made this review 4 books this year, so I knew I have to read this. One thing about this book is it's a very thin book, very it's just 130 pages, and very simple read, and but every statement over there is so profound. It's full of quotes by famous author and not so famous people also, but it's like one of those books you can just pick up like that any day. Okay, any page you can just turn and read it, and it was going to inspire you. So it's just that type of a simple book. It doesn't have to be like I need to read continuously all the pages of this book. No, you can just open any chapter anytime and just read about that book. It's just that simple. And what I felt was everything is profound. And like this book, it motivates you every time. It says attitude is everything, and any page in that book will make your day better. So a little bit of the author. So the author was a lawyer. He married a law school classmate. So he thought law is going to be his life always, and he's going to be a lawyer and all that. But like sort of 5-6 years into his profession, he was tired always. He was scared to go to work. He didn't actually like his job, So he felt that he wasn't satisfied. And then one day while he was at his home, and he was just watching TV and late night, and there was this ads which came up, and there was like one ad which talked about a home study course. So it's called a mental bank, and so he just paid it for that, and they sent that home study course. And it was such a very whimsical decision for him, and even his wife was really surprised that he's not a person who does that. And when he looked into it, and then that course sort of shaped things. So it sort of paved way for him to become a motivational speaker. He didn't do it right away. He took some time because you still need to pay the bills, and from there, he over the course of the next 6 to 7 years, he took the steps to become a motivation speaker, a writer, and he did that in a phased manner. And then he quit his law job and then turned into a full-time motivational speaker, and that's what he's been doing for a long time. So this is a little about the author. Now, moving on, his book is divided into three parts: think, speak, and act. For think, he says, success begins in the mind. So what you think is what you do. So in this book, he starts off you know, there is our attitude is actually the window to the world. So we need to have a clean mental window. So if you observe children, right, they're so happy around, they're so chirpy, and they don't even mind anything about it. So what happens to these kids when they grow up? They have peer pressure, they have criticism, they have rejection, they face with disappointment, and life sort of takes on to them, and they're clouded by doubt. Now so this window actually also, aka our mind, sort of becomes dirty. So how do we clean this window? So the cleaning that window, it has to do with our attitude. And I mean, it's very easily said that you everybody faces problems. Staying positive is difficult, but everybody should try. It's And one thing about is, I can only do it by myself. Nobody else can do it for me. I still go about, like, just how Joseph was mentioning, happiness is something I create by myself. So if there is a problem that I'm facing, you can take help from everybody around, but only when I change my attitude and how I look into it, then only I can move on. So he in this book, Jeff talks about it's all about how we think and all of that, right? Don't make problems bog you down. Everybody faces problems. So he's like, he has a lot of references to a lot of famous people, a lot of motivational speakers, a lot of people who started from the scratch and how they go about it. So it talks about this person, Viktor Frankl, who was a prisoner in the Nazi death camp. He lost his entire family in the camps, like in the gas chambers, and they were like, and he faced hunger, cold, brutality, and but he survived all this camp and all this, and then he came out really strong. He went on to write a best-selling book. It's called A Man's Search for Meaning. So why Jeff mentioned about this person is, look at this person he's gone through so much in life, but he's able to survive that, come out of it, and and go on to do something better. So that is all to do with how we are, um, you know, um, all with our attitude. Now he then talks about change your thinking. Instead of saying like, I can't do this, I always mess it up, or you just say, try, I can do it. It's something that we have to say it for ourselves. One example that I want to quote here is that, my son, when he was around 6 years old, he had to take medications. Those medications for he had to take medications for a long time, and he hated medicines, especially. I mean, he could have a tablet, but he could never have a syrup. And because he was only 6 years old, they didn't have a tablet at that time, that medicine. And so he hates that suspension because it sticks to your tongue and all that. And what he used to do, but he had to have that medicine twice a day. And the little one will say, okay, I can do it, I can do it. He just says that to himself, and then he'll just gulp it. And uh, i I used to, that statement that he tells to himself, right? Like that he can do it. And that was an inspiration for me. And so that's something, okay, even if you cannot do it, take inspiration. I mean, say to yourself that you can actually do those things. So then also is bring positivity in. She says, repetition here is the key. Like every day, take some time to read some inspirational material. Be it like in the morning, daytime. I know I've heard in this session, in our book review sessions, that people take time in the morning to do it or before you end the day. So when you hear a lot of motivational quotes or you read about it, any podcast, and if you keep hearing them again and again, it has a positive influence on us. So it is repetition is the key. That's what Jeff suggests here. So I'm just going to take a small break here. Before I proceed, I just want to hear from people on what our attitude and how we think sort of determines and helps us in life.
Ashwini, thanks for sharing that about your son. So generally we think it's only for the adults or only the adults can do it. I can do it, kind of a thing. So thank you. Your son also did that. Yeah, I'll wait for others to say. I just want to say thank you for sharing that. Others, if you have any comments on whatever that Ashwini said about thinking, Xavier, Sukhwinder, Padma, anyone, Priya?
Comment from me is it's absolutely true. The way that we look at things, there are a lot of things that we can look at in something that has happened to us or whatever we are going to do. How we project it in our mind and how we envision it, I would say, and how we look at it and then go for it. That really helps. It's something like we should always tell to ourselves, I mean, let's try it. Let's go for it. Let's try and see. If it fails, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. We are living a life, so we can have both sides. So if you can try and go for it, then why not? That's a good way of looking at things. I agree. I completely agree with that.
Okay. One thing that bothers me. See, I have like last 25 years or so, I've gone through this particular phase of self-help, reading through this. I think the first book that I read in this particular thing is The Power of Positive Thinking. I forgot the book author name. I'm sure Xavier would know. He was a preacher. And then everybody talks about this attitude and all. You need to think positively, and I completely agree with all of that. No question. I'm not denying that. But what I'm starting to wonder recently is that, are we? Yes, Xavier, it's Norman Vincent Pillay. Thanks. I know you would do that. See, what I'm wondering nowadays is, are we missing out an elephant in the room, in the sense that, is it coming from our own deep faith? I know Ashwini is very religious. Most of the people here, I don't know about everybody, but at least I know about Sukhwinder and Ashwini, and then few people. Or are we not addressing that particular thing? Maybe Ashwini is able to think positive. Yes, listening to positive messages and reading some positive things, it all helps. But fundamentally, she has a deep faith in a God or whatever she has. Are we not addressing that? That is something that is bothering in my mind for quite a lot of time, because people also call me, hey, Joseph, I have this problem. As a matter of fact, just today I spoke to a friend, and I'm still bothered by it. He's my I know him really well, and he has a problem on every side. His wife is sick. His business is going through a lot of trouble. He has not been able to pay his kids' education. I just can't tell him, think positive. So I'm starting to wonder, is there a fundamental thing that we are missing, and just saying think positive? Yes, you are thinking positive because you have an underlying faith. I just want to ask this forum, what do you think about this? Without an underlying faith, either in a deity, or without an underlying faith that the world is good, things will work out fine. Can you be really positive? What do you think about it? KK, maybe you can go first, and then maybe, even Aswini and others also I would like to ask. Yes, KK.
So I also have this echo this thought, Joseph, because when I think this is to some extent a lot of this positive thing, and self-help is more, in my view, a Western is what I would say, because I think in our literature, Indian literature, there are very few things that says or takes this angular approach. They say that accept reality and then act, or maybe uh, something like that, right? Like accept the situation as what it is. I mean, even then, even that is something which is very provocative in my view sometimes, right? Like, because you go through bad times, worse times, and you lose people, and you lose, I mean, like what you're saying now about your friend. So how can we even, I mean, talk about like positive thinking? I don't know. I am.
Yeah, I don't have an
Very,
answer, KK. I don't have an answer.
I
Yeah,
want to
even
say
I don't
something,
know.
Joseph and KK.
Yeah, Padma.
So it is interesting, right? We are looking for reference, and I don't think it's about the reference. And what Joseph said is correct, where it is the belief, and it can be anything, right? You have to believe, and if you take all of it, it could be religion, it could be the universe, it could be the belief in yourself. And I feel like some belief, and it can be any belief, if you're an atheist, if you believe in God, you don't believe in God, you have a universalist or anything, but there has to be an attachment in that belief. And I think that is how people are saying, I know it is a Western concept, we've given a name, attitude, or to the whole thing, but I think it's that belief that is going to give you that attitude. And why I'm saying that is I am a believer, and it's not like I'm very pious and I'm going to the temple, not that kind of a believer, but I believe God is within myself. And I've practiced Hinduism, I've been exposed to Christianity, and then my daughter is confused because she's got both the backgrounds, right? She was raised a Christian, and then she was introduced to Hinduism after my divorce. And then she just is like, oh, Jesus is first for me. But then she suddenly when she became a teenager, she is a very spiritual person. She doesn't, attach herself to one religion, but then she's like, I'm very spiritual. And then I can see that her attitude changed to positive thinking all of a sudden, right? When COVID hit and all that. And I see that she became a new person. She goes and hits on everything she wants just by changing her attitude. She's like, I'm having this, and she visions it, and she goes for it. She's like, I'm going to have these 5 friends in college. And then she would be like, she'll correct herself, and she's like, I have these friends, and I'm like, she didn't read The Secret. She didn't read the book Secret. She didn't read anything, but this just came into her somehow. And I feel like you don't have to read books. You don't have to be, knowing the scripture in and out for looking for that word or positive thinking and all that. But that belief transforms you to have this attitude on. And we are not just giving a word or a term in any language for that, but it is just within you. And if you believe in yourself, some way or form, you will have that attitude come to you.
Okay, thanks, Padma. Ashwini, having read this book, and I know you practice this as well, and you're also a very religious person. What's your idea? What do you think about this? Again, we are not looking for absolutes. This is the answer, go and do it, right? I mean, I don't think we can anywhere for these things, we can give an absolute, okay, this is what the truth is, kind of a thing. So Ashwini, what do you think about it?
So there are 2 things in this book. I mean, Jeff is a very religious person, so his guidance is from the Bible, and he takes it from his religion. So he quotes a lot about from the Bible and how it has helped him get through his adversities. For me personally, religions is a guidance for me, and I believe in all religions, and luckily my parents have brought me in such a way that I just don't stick to Hinduism. And I studied in a Christian school, and I exposed to all religions, and they support everything. So, but for me, there is an ulterior power. So that that is always there. my son tells he's an atheist, and I keep joking that as long as I'm funding for you and you're in my house, you cannot say that. I mean, I said, I mean, you have a choice, but then that's not until you. I mean, it's just a joke, but for me, that's my belief, and there is. There are a lot of rituals, but I mean, you do this. I mean, my parents do a lot more things, but I don't like to be held behind those rituals. For me, I mean, like, do this, do that at this point of time. Like my parents are really, really are this very. They practice all of that so religiously. But for me, I don't believe in that. For me, God is there. The God doesn't want me to do that. Like so. So that has guided me. So that is the thing.
Okay.
And,
See, but thanks, Ashwini. I'm going to combine what Padma said and also, what others, Ashwini and KK said. What I'm coming to realize, again, I'm not giving an absolute, this is exactly what it is, and then go and follow it. Maybe when I come to it, probably I'll write a book and then become a multimillionaire on that. But what I'm coming to believe is there are three things that we need to live a good life, and that attitude and everything. The first thing is you need to believe in something that is beyond yourself, which you can, like, I mean, Padma could call it as, universalist, or you could term it anything, I mean, God, sovereign, whatever, like, I mean, you can call anything. The one of the quote that is often we even have said here is, if you plan to do something, and the universe will conspire to help you. So you can call it any of those terms, but you need to believe in something that is beyond yourself, which will help you go through all of these things. And then you need to love yourself as well. You need to love yourself how you are. You need to accept yourself however you are. And I have shared this earlier also. I used to suffer from inferiority complex, thinking I can't speak in English. I'm like this, I'm like that, and all of those kinds of stuff. And then it was an impediment. And once I was able to get through that, and again, I was able. So second thing is, I think you need to love yourself. And then that is when you're going to go and read the positive things and positive messages you're going to hear and all of that. But you also need to love others, because we cannot live in isolation. So if at all I need to kind of interact with people, I need to love others as well. Right? I mean, see, I can start this Gravitas Wind show and it all can be about me. I mean, I am reviewing the book, I'm talking, but I need to say, Ashwini has something to share, Xavier has something to share, KK has something to share. So I need to appreciate and respect others. Only then I think we will all have a rich life. I mean, that's my understanding. At least that is what my position is as of now in all of these things. Yeah, Captain Aturaj, you wanted to say something?
Yeah. That when we say that we need to believe something, or we are looking at, everyone looks at everyone. I think I feel as if every human being looks at something. I mean, we always target something, and we always look at probably having peace of mind, or some call it as happiness, or going a little bit further, some call it as spirituality, or a spiritual realm. Okay, that's something it's much higher. So we all probably term it in different ways, but we all look at something towards that direction. And when I was in discussion with one of the professors, he nicely put it in such a way that it was so simple for me to understand. That when he said that what is the relation between spirituality and religion, it can be any religion, any belief, or anything at all. He said he nicely put it, saying that it is just a launching pad, and it is just a launching pad to go into a spiritual realm. Spirituality is a different realm altogether, and human beings look for a launching pad. Launching pad can be religion. Launching pad can be an atheist also can use a launching pad to get into the spiritual realm. But then the problem is a lot of us don't let go of the launching pad. We need to let go of the launching pad to get into the spiritual realm. Any religion it can be, and we need to let go of it somewhere. We use it, but we let go of it somewhere, and then get into the realm where the peace of mind, happiness, and everything comes in. Why I am just quoting whatever he said is, he put it in a nice way, which where everything connected. It's not only we can believe anywhere. We believe, if I was born into a family who believed in different religion, then probably I will be following that religion. I would not have changed religion. But then I was brought up in, I will be brought up in that religion, and still I'll try to achieve the same happiness or peace of mind or the spiritual thing. So
Okay.
it was very convincing for me to understand the whole
Thanks.
concept.
Thanks. Yeah, Ashwini, go ahead.
So just proceeding on that part of thinking, right? Like, and Jeff suggests that we picture our way to success. So he says visualization is key. There are a lot of examples again about famous people over there, and there is like Jim Carrey writing himself a post-dated check for himself for $10 million. He's like, keep visualize that I'm going to be a successful actor. And it was during his struggling days, but then even like I think within 5-6 years he found success. He had the Dumb and Dumber and Ace Ventura movies coming out, which just projected him, and like he was earning so much over there. There was like Celine Dion. There is a reference to Celine Dion in the book, and like she said, since 5 years old, she thought about that she's going to be a famous singer. So picturing your way to success, and you for the job you want. So I mean, this is something that we can tell our kids, like visualize that I want to become a judge, I want to become so and so, this one, like this one. There's one example that I want to quote from my family over here, like this from my husband's side of the family, this and there is a person who was a judge. She became, like, the first attempt of her, this one, she became a judge, but she's the first grandchild in the house. And when she was born, and like the family sort of decided that she's going to become a lawyer and she's going to be a judge. So my mom used to say, even like she was aware of their family before, and they used to write Vanita BABL, she's going to be a judge, when she was in her first standard or LKG. They used to write it in their walls and all of that. So the family sort of thought that this girl is going to become a judge. And in her first attempt to be, after becoming a lawyer, she became a judge. And I mean, so I've seen the power of that, the power of she thinking, the power of family thinking it for her, and she did that. And and then see, when there is visualization, right? Like when you're living cues to yourself, right? Like there can be a negative side. Like sometimes I'll say, like I mean, there was an example that Jeff quotes. Like there is a person who says that I have a lot of debts and that's why I go to work. And she writes that note to herself. And she also sometimes sees seen people putting bumpers like that in their car. So this may inspire you to actually get to work and get things done. But then there's no positivity in it. So it's sort of attracts negativity over there, like so there is that difference between the thought process. So it's like a kid who thinks I need to pass, whereas a kid who thinks I shouldn't fail, so the possibility that the kid who wants to pass is more. There's a positivity over there, and that the kid passes. But then the kid who says I shouldn't fail, right? There's a little bit of negativity, and there is the possibility of that person failing. So, and like that's the difference in how we think. So be positive. Yeah. I mean, it's very easy to say that. I mean, I'm a person who fears everything, about everything. Paranoia is something that is there with me, but fear and a little bit of fear, but a lot of positivity will get us to that next step. And this book talks about a lot of commitment also. So a lot of examples to take. I would suggest you go and read about them. And then the next thing about is he talks about is like turn your problems into opportunities. There's no pressure, there's no diamonds. So so he ends this first chapter of the think part, on telling us how adversity sort of serves us. It gives us a different perspective. For a person who has come out from a major illness, a flat tire or a traffic jam is just going to be a small thing. I mean, for somebody else, that would be a big thing which will deter their day or something. So once you overcome an adversity, you are grateful, and it also is like, because you've gone through that and you would have faced that, you sort of realize your hidden potential on how you do it. And it also sort of helps us to make changes around us, and gives us a lot of valuable lessons. And there are other opportunities around, like, okay, when this is not happening and I face this, and then I know there's another opportunity lying around. And then when you face an adversity, and then it sort of builds confidence and self-esteem when you failed and you come successful out of it. One thing that one of my projects that I had worked in was really, really intense, like grueling when so I was a program manager there in that one, and the way the team worked was that any problem, it's the problem of the program manager. Any success goes there to anybody else. Maybe it's to do with that role, but then it was really taxing. You don't get rewarded for any success, you slip, the timeline slips, and then you just get blamed. But when I had moved on to another role, but what I say to myself is that project, that program, that the 3 years I spent in that team makes me face anything in life. You just meet so many types of people, so many things, so I knew my every day is going to be different, and every problem is going to be different. So that builds confidence. It builds your self-esteem. So this is where I'm going to go on to the second part, wherein the next part of it is talking about our words, the way we speak. Our words blaze a trail. So he divides that book into 3 things, where we are talking about first thinking, then speaking, then acting. So I'll now go on to the part of speaking. So our words turn into our beliefs. So our thoughts turn into words, our words turn into beliefs, our beliefs into actions and results. So Jeff starts off with a funny thing that is like, he said, I always had this belief that I cannot do things around the house. I'm not good at doing home repairs. He found all these instruction manuals, all daunting. He never liked it. But then when he looked back, he says, maybe I should have been more positive about it. If I had thought I can do that, then I would have been able to do it. So he said, he refers to a scientist, a NASA research scientist called Kent Cullers. This person was doing a research on extraterrestrial. There was a research on extraterrestrial things, and in NASA. And colors as actually a physical condition. So Jeff had read an article which was written by Kent, and he calls that physical condition just a trivial infliction. It's just barely an inconvenience. Actually, what colors has is that he was blind. So which is such a major problem, right? But he never let that bog him down. So he's a scientist over there, being in NASA. It's like, so he never left that to bog him down. And so by saying those words, right, this is just an inconvenience for me, it made him achieve greater things. And Jeff suggests that use positive self-talk. No one can talk to yourself better than ourselves, and associate with positive people. That you would know when over your life you have a lot of people, you meet a lot of people. There are a lot of naysayers, okay. Then don't discuss your goals with such negative people, and suggest talk to the people with the right expertise, right? And so if you're going to go for a job change or something, then go to the right people. You just don't talk to a person who doesn't know about it, because they also don't know. And if that person is a negative person, they're going to pull you down. So find the people with the right expertise. And luckily for me, any of those things, I find for each of those areas, I have those people identified. Joseph knows if when anything to do with a job, I would pick up a phone and I'll tell him, Joseph, I'm going through this stage. Should I take this up? Anything in my family, I would I have my set of people identified. I would can I do this and all that? So identify that. And sometimes you also need to identify those people who would be just a sounding board also. You would have a tough day. But and if you're going to tell them, and they are negative, then it's going to rub on you. So find and as such, it's a responsibility for us to be better, to find that right person. And so accountability. So when you talk words, and when you're talking to a friend, the words should be accountable. So say, for example, I'm talking to a friend and I say, I'm going to work out 3 times a week. Knowing that my friend is actually going to check back, I will go ahead and work out 3 times a day. in this book again, Jeff talks about a motivational speaker, Zig. So this person was writing a book, See You at the Top, and the name of the book is See You at the Top. And while he was writing this book, he had suggested that he motivated himself and he was going to reduce his weight to 165. And over the course, the book took around 10 months before it went into publishing. So it was getting copied. 25,000 copies were getting printed. And before the book was published, he lost 37 pounds because he wanted to keep his words and his commitment. So like words and accountability, that's what Jeff explains here. And going on, like he talks about like how you react. So say a person has lied to you, and if you tell them I'm really angry and I'm upset, like he says, don't use those types of words. You just tell them you're annoyed. Sort of soften those words, and it's gonna have that impact on yourself, because if you say I am angry, it makes you more angry. So that's what he said. You are less tensed. So that is one of those suggestions that Jeff has. And that intensity is not just on you, but on the other person also. And it can be damaging. Words can be damaging. So control yourself over there. So he goes on to say how we can examine the words that we use in core areas of our life. People in relationships. If you say people are taking advantage of me, then you keep repeating it to yourself, then that becomes that. So don't say things like that. And in finance, you will say it's a lousy economy, I'm always in debt. But look at all the rich people, the wealthy people they've all gone through these cycles. They've all gone through those ups and downs, but then they have been positive over the time periods, which has helped them get there. And also in career, like where I say, I don't know where I'm going in my career. So that is one of those things. If you feel that means that you should change those things. You take help from mentors, take the tools available in the company, which would help you get there. And then the last one he talks about is health. And he's like, your body hears what you say, like if somebody says, I get 3 or 4 bad cold a year or something like that, then you would get that. And he says, by saying things like that, when you repeat, like I have chronic back pain, you keep repeating that, you actually manifest the pain and disease. So Jeff also says that he does not, doesn't nullify people who have gone through a lot of this one. These are small suggestions that can help us get through a lot of things during our daily life. I'm going to stop here. Want to hear from people on what you think about how we speak and how it affects us.
So this week there was a client visit, and so we were discussing. The client, he said, Ashwini, whatever that you talked about, he says he's now about 43. He owns a retail store, and he's also a digital director of a large confectionery in the UK. So he says, even from the age of 15, I didn't know what manifestation is, what affirmation is. I didn't know any of those kinds of stuff. But even from the age of 15, I used to say, I'm going to have a house like this, and I'm going to have a job like this, and so on and so forth. He didn't know what a digital officer is at that time, but he said, like, no, this is how I will have, and I will have a company, and so on and so forth, right? I mean, what you talked about as the judge having even from the age of 5 BABL kind of a thing. And he says, now I have all of those things. I'm building my house. I own a retail store, and this, whatever that he was explaining. And I've heard this from multiple people also. So this is very true. So the other thing that as I was hearing, one other thing that is coming to my mind is, like everything else, or a lot of things in life, you have to deposit these things before you can actually take it. Like in bank, I mean, only when you deposit, you can go and take the money. So I don't think when I'm going through the trouble, Ashwini comes and tells me, you know what, Joseph, you need to think positive and say positive. I don't think it is going to stick with me. I'll completely ignore what's the nonsense that you are talking about. But if I have done that earlier, before the problem stuck and so on and so forth. And through the problem, I can get through it. And this is very true in my life as well. So that's the only one thing that I would add is that probably that's why these kinds of, gatherings and these kinds of book discussions have help, where we are able to implant these ideas before we get into a trouble. And then when we get through the trouble, we can kind of go through it. So that's what I would add. Anyone else wants to add anything? Okay, Aswini, maybe you can go ahead.
So I mean, going on in this in the part of how we speak, right? Like the whole very interesting chapter is like how are you, how you respond, and like how you respond to how are you. So there are like, you can have 3 types of responses. Totally negative, like today, oh, it's already, I'm so tired and it's only Tuesday. Then that is a negative response, and a mediocre response is, okay, it's going on. Like there's a positive response, yeah, it's phenomenal. What he tries to say here is that you may be having a bad day, you may be having a bad week, but being positive over there, just saying that it's good, you are being positive to yourself, and also influencing the other person, that person, you're influencing that person, and you are giving them that energy also. You're setting the tone for someone else. So that is one of a very valuable suggestion I liked. And ironically, this week it was very tough, and this Tuesday was like, Monday was really grueling, and we were like, we were working so hard and all that, and we were with our top leadership working on numbers and dates and all of that. And I was actually revising this book, and somebody on Tuesday was like, oh God, it's so tired, how are you feeling? And I'm like, I just had to hold back my response because I just read this book, and like like I knew I shouldn't be giving like a negative response over there. And then and how we can be you can, he suggests, join a positive group, you form a new habit, respond with enthusiasm, and stop complaining. So somebody asks, how are you, don't get into details of your sickness. And one thing he also suggests, this is really funny, is like, don't complain about the weather. There's nothing that you can do about the weather. It's so be positive about it. Say if the rain is hindering it, and you say if it snowed and you're saying it stayed in, but think that as an opportunity you got to stay up on your reading, and that it didn't stop you from doing things. So I mean, this is really valuable. I mean, anybody, I mean, I know it's a great conversation starter, a weather, but then not complaining about your weather, and sort of it's a new thing that I'm going to learn and do it. And the power of being positive, again, like he said, he just talks about a person, Pedro, who's from Honduras, and when he met him once in office, and he was really like happy, and he was just going about everything with a smile. When he spoke to Pedro, then his country was hit by a hurricane, and he didn't even know if his family was alive back home. So Jeff was like, he was brooding over something like which was not going according to his plans. But then when he saw Pedro was so chirpy and he had a smile on his face, he was like, how come that didn't bog this person down, So take inspiration from people around, and everybody is going through problems. But ensure your adversities are learning lessons. And smile. So he talks about the smile being a really, really powerful tool. Smile to yourself. This is something that I practice. I'm not sure if Padu remembers, but we used to have value education class, and our ma'am, Gigi ma'am, she used to take this class, and this was way back in our 5th standard. And she told me, ask the class that smile to yourself when you're going through a problem. Smile to yourself, and this is really a valuable lesson. I have followed it. I can tell about that. Just you may be really going through a bad day, like I would have just cried myself out, and then I just give that smile to myself. It's something that will have a positive effect on you. It will get you to that next step. And also putting things in perspective, like like when you're with your family, don't help let the small things bother things down, and so he quotes about in weddings over seating arrangement, a lot of fights arise and all that. um for me, we I mean in we go out, my family, in my husband's side of the family, we go out on outings and all of that, like once a year or once in 2 years. We are three women in the family. When we are there, a lot of tension or that, but there is that maturity that we do not allow small things take it down, like take those, because we all know it's just the 3-4 days that we are spending together, and we don't let small things bring those things down. And that is a maturity, and that is the positivity that we should, not allow small things break big relationships. And he says, stop complaining, be grateful for what you have. So when you don't keep on talking about your problems, 90% of the people are not bothered about your problems, and the other 10% are actually happy that you have them. So that is what he says. Will move on to the next part of the book, where it is all about ACT. So now we've spoken about how we think, how we speak. Now it's all about ACT. So he says, associate yourself with positive people. Like so like there is this person, Mike, he talks about in this book, who used to hang around with in high school, hang around with kids who will just sit in their and on their porch and just watch cars. He moved out of it. He went out of the city, and then he's like, he did meet a lot of other negative people at all, but he was able to see he was able to identify those positive people and make his life successful. Looking back, many of those high school friends were still lived in the same neighborhood and lived average lives. So this is where actually our parents sort of worry about the people we company, whom we keep company, because they are actually bound to influence us in our life. So toxic people, he calls, are energy vampires. So they would drain your energy. So associate yourself with positive people. And so our mind, right, is like a sponge. So we sort of like observe everything around us. So like there may be some silly song on this one, you may not even like it, and then it keeps on going, repeating, and then after some time you may realize that you are actually singing that song. So that's how your mind, even though that's something you don't like, it's negative, but then it stayed on in your mind. And for me personally, when I am watching TV, movies, or any of the shows, I will not watch anything which has any dark movies, and like no war movies. Strictly, I will. It's a big no for me. And I'm all about color, comedy, and feel good movies. I get teased at home for this, but this is what I am, because I can control what I see. Like there's so much of darkness happening around me, but at least this is one thing that I know I can control. This, I can see some color, I can see some chirpiness, some happiness around this one, and it's gonna make me feel better. And there's this again fun incident. It was like my team, it was some celebration, this was a few years back, and they took us out for a movie, Dunkirk. And they were all going gaga about it. It's Christopher Nolan's movie, and it's going to be great and all that. And I hadn't done my reading about it. I didn't read any reviews, and I went there, and it was a war movie, and it was in an IMAX with all those sounds, like it was such a grueling experience for me. So and why I tell again this one is like because this personally affects me, because I came out with tears in my eyes, and I didn't like it. So sort of sets the tone for the day and all of that, right? Like that's the thing. So evaluate your friendship. You may have toxic relatives. Relatives are a very tricky part, but it's very important for your well-being. If you feel your letters are you would still need to have the relationships. You cannot get away from it, but you control that amount of conversation you're having with such people. You be courteous, but don't spend a lot of time, because that's going to have a negative effect. And all about identifying positive people in that workplace who would actually help you through that. If I have time, I have a video to play. If I have time, I will get to it. So it talks about acting, right? Confront your fears and grow. If you want to be successful, you have to be uncomfortable. You identify what your fears are. So Jeff talks about a lot of common fears. Public speaking being the number one fear. If you were to ask me like 20 years back, or like in my college, I used to fret talking, and talking in sense on the stage to go and talk over there, and like but I take opportunities like this session, like any of these sessions, and I take such opportunities to enhance my public speaking. Anything in office, like I would be there too, and I'll say, okay, I'll do that. My heart just thuds when I'm trying to start that, but then I'm confronting my fear over there. And then like some people have the fear of hearing the word no, and then some people have fear of changing jobs, and like say, and also telling negative news to upper management, like they have that fear. So we have to overcome all of this fear of failure, so we have to, if we don't do this, then our self-esteem is lowered. If we have to learn to confront our fears, move forward, and otherwise life is boring. You're gonna keep remaining doing your mundane things and all that. Unless and until we confront those things, it is not going to happen. Success does not happen overnight, and sometimes you just have to do it. And if you go through those books, there are a lot of examples of people overcoming this. The last bit of it, the book is about, the last chapter is about networking. He says networking gets results. So it's all about in networking. He divides it into 4 sections. He talks about attitudes. So we need to project a winning attitude. So you participates in groups and activities, and we in office, we had a Women's Day celebration last week, and I went there. It's very nice when and it's with COVID, and we all being back in office, and with a lot of change in the job, with all the ups and downs the industry went through. There were a lot of new people, like just very few old people were around, but then got to meet a lot of people over there. And how it helped me was just the next activity was a holy activity after a Women's Day event, and none of my team members were there, so I was just alone in the ground. But then this group that I had made friends with in the Women's Day activity just came to my rescue, and they were like talking me, introducing me to their team members, and then it went on to be a gala celebration. So participate in groups and activities, take every opportunity to do that, make new friends, and referrals. So and this is all to do with networking. So refer people, but again, don't do it with go around referring everybody. Be selective. Quality is the key over there. And then or it talks about communication, just how Joseph had mentioned about is being a good listener. That is really important. Call people, and always know who your network is, be in touch with them, drop a hi, and and also meet new people. He says he wears this t-shirt which says attitude is everything, and he goes for a walk, and that's a big icebreaker. People look into his t-shirt, and so start conversations. Never be afraid to start conversations and new conversations, and ask for help. That network is there to guide you. So you've attracted positive people, and learn when to ask for help. And then talks about networking. The last thing is follow up. Send a note to them. You read a good article or a good newsletter or something. Reply back saying that it is nice, this helped me. So send congrats when you see people accomplishing, right, and all this. So this is something do a follow up on that. It's very important, a part of networking. So he concludes saying that change your attitude, change your life. Yeah, and that is all I had to review from his book.
Thanks. As I was listening through, one of the thing, in fact, I was thinking through, and then Aswini, you refer to it, is that even within this Gravitas Win show, you have participated in the earlier shows, the initial ones. Either it is a book review, or we had one on the women power. At some point in time, I could see your palpitation in those things. Today, you are very quiet, calm, as if this is what you do for your life, that public speaking, and so I want to in fact, I want to call you afterwards. I was thinking, oh my God, this, Aswini has improved a lot. I should call and tell her. And you referenced it in the last section. So I thought I will say it here itself. So I could see a lot of improvements. And this is what I've been saying to a few other people also. See, a lot of times people think, like one of my friend, he's part of Gravitas Wins. He called me and said, hey, you know what? I'm applying for a manager, director level post. I'm clearing all of the technical interviews. No problem at all. It's all, I'm coming in flying colors. But everybody says, you don't seem to be a director material. What should I do? And what I'm realizing is, and as I was speaking, these kinds of, he is not able to present himself in a lot more positive way. And I was saying earlier also, you need to deposit before you can withdraw from it. It's not going to come in suddenly, oh, now I have to speak like a director. It's not going to come in on that particular day. You need to deposit prior. So that's why I like these kinds of sessions where we can come practice. It's only like, short people group. We can practice, we can fail. But over a period when we do it, we improve on that particular skill. So that's what I've seen with you, Aswini. Thank you so much for taking this book review. And from everything that you have said, this book seems to be a pretty good book. I'm going to go and read it. Yeah, Sukhinder ji, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I just want to say what I would make out of this, or what I have learned out of life, is we all are basically positive in nature, and we should just stop the thinking part. And for that, we need to believe in something which is universal, which I shared in the last review also.
Yes.
And we should have the right people in our community, and have the right mindset also, external and external community basically. And this makes a change. And I have read it from a lot of authors, Stephen Covey, Robin Sharma. All of them said that whatever happens in this universe, it happens twice: once in our minds and second on the earth. So visualization, manifestation is the key. It should happen in the mind first. We should digest it ourselves first, then it will happen. Thanks a lot, Aswini. I learned a lot, and I am going to read this one this year, definitely. I have the book, but couldn't make it on my list. Thanks for everything.
Anyone else wants to add? We have 2 more minutes. Padma, Priya, Sharanya, thank you for joining. And I think you might be a friend from Aswini.
Yeah, that's my niece. Thanks, Sharanya, for joining.
Yeah, I was always meaning to join the session. Yeah, finally could make it today.
Good. How was Aswini?
Awesome, she was, as usual. She's one of the most positive persons in my life.
As always, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, good. So,
yeah, Ashwini, this is Padma again. And I know I can see the growth too from the book she did on the first, I think, review that I went 7 habits, right?
Yeah.
From that to this attitude is everything. I can see so much growth. And like I said, we are all school friends, and she's been a pillar of support through the years. And I can see, she reminds me of everything that happened in the school, like even today. But I don't remember small things, but, as a whole, I would attribute, to where I am today to the school I went to. So, it has molded us in the best way that it can. And you can easily see the difference in the people from Vidyodaya. So it's there in our attitude. So I feel like I'm so grateful for the childhood that we had. So today was great.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. I really appreciate joining in. I know, Padma, it is early morning for you, and for everybody else, it's a Saturday evening. You could be doing anything else, but you chose to join. So I'm very glad. And I'll finish with this. Aswini talked about it at the end. The network, the group that you have, the community that you have, that's my idea. That all of us will come in, we'll practice what we are reading, and we are listening. And then we'll also have opportunities to share our thoughts, and it has to be a healthy discussion that we have. And also in that particular process, we improve ourselves in one fashion or the other. And I see Ashwini going through that particular change, and then getting a lot of inputs from everybody else as well. So again, Captain Arpadraj, thank you. Sukhwinder ji, thank you. Padma, thank you. Priya, thank you. And Sharanya, thank you for joining us. Have a nice